Hi, and welcome to today's webinar with SensorTracks and Iterate Labs. And today we're going to cover a brand new integration and partnership between our two companies that will help us monitor sort of what the workforce inside of the plant beyond the machines. And today we have with us Jason Gus, the CEO of Iterate Labs. Hey, Jason.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Pleasure to be here and excited about the opportunity to join forces with SensorTracks.
Do you mind, Jason, just quickly telling us a little bit about your background and the history of Iterate Labs and how we got here today?
Yeah, great. Yeah, so we're actually a Cornell-founded company. My background actually is my PhD is in biomechanics and orthopedics over at Cornell. Prior to that, I was a robotics engineer at a robotics company. And we founded Iterate Labs really to help focus on the workforce within the industrial sector and really focusing on the most important resource, which is that workforce, and digitizing their movements and their actions. They give visibility into production, safety, and training for manufacturing and industrial companies.
Great, thank you. And that's really what we're going to cover today. So Jason's going to do an intro of Iterate Labs, their platform, their devices, and how they work. I'm going to talk about SensorTracks and then how the two systems work together and can provide value to our customers. So with that, Jason, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Yeah, so our product features our Delta One wearable. It's a smartwatch that essentially tracks 3D motion of workers' arm and hand movements, as well as location. And then we use our own algorithms and AI to help connect to manufacturing KPIs. So I'm wearing one on my wrist as well, if the background will allow. And it's extremely lightweight, basically weighs as much as a credit card. And we've just had fantastic results with our customers to date. So as I said, our platform digitizes worker movements to essentially create a digital twin of the workforce. And with this, we leverage our proprietary algorithms and AI to turn this into workforce insights. And we do this for a variety of areas. So for production, to help monitor and adhere to standard work for your employees, to help visualize, understand, and maintain cycle time, as well as understand if there's variance in cycle time, and then to help provide visibility and limit downtime on the production side. For the safety and availability side, we use this to help understand workers' movements and motions that would be associated with musculoskeletal injuries or repetitive motion injuries like carpal tunnel, as well as fatigue-related issues. Then we use our platform as well to help reduce workforce turnover. We do this by fostering engagement between managers and supervisors, as well as gamifying the data and displaying this in public areas, really to boost morale and overall engagement among the workforce. Lastly, we use this same core data to focus on quality of work. So are workers following steps in a process? Are they adhering to the certain amount of time per step? And then we tie all of this data and provide this to training managers and supervisors so they can guide workers through the training process, monitor it, and accelerate that process as well. So this is an example of one of our production managers' dashboards. Here you can quickly see work hours per worker, when they show up, what issues they may have in terms of attendance. We can look at efficiency throughout the day in terms of when they're operating, how often. We look at activity score per group, and you can quickly see it based upon job levels, find where there's averages among those jobs and who are top performers, as well as where there's variance. Activity score and efficiencies, we look at percent of time the worker is active, as well as percent of time the worker is non-active. And so from this, we can also look at downtime metrics as well. And then lastly, probably our most important feature is looking at cycle time. So understanding where workers are at in terms of their cycle time, what's the average per job, and set goals that workers would want to hit, as well as looking at total work done. So if there's a total piece count that has to be accomplished throughout the day, we can understand in real time where that workforce and where that worker is. This is an example of our safety manager dashboard. So here, once again, you can understand kind of attendance and work hours. We can look at exposure per job, so understanding the risk level that's associated with certain jobs and where you may want to focus your resources and efforts. We can also break this down by exposure per worker to understand how that worker is putting themselves at higher risk of injury, as well as at what times of the day and why. Our change feature over here also shows really quickly if there's any drastic changes in employee safety or performance in the past 24 hours compared to the past week. This alerts you really in a proactive manner if there are any issues or concerns that you may need to address, or if workers are potentially showing early symptoms or signs of an injury or pain developing. And last, we have daily recommendations. Our AI model basically takes prior data as well as current work data, analyzes it per worker, and provides really that supervisor and that manager the key insights and key recommendations that they need to keep their team safe, motivated, and healthy. One of the other things I wanted to just call out is our customers have had great success with reducing turnover of their workforce by focusing on the engagement and gamification of our platform. So each worker is given personalized scores based upon safety and productivity goals. And these data is displayed in public areas like cafeterias or break rooms, really to support those workers that were the top performers of the week, boost morale, and boost confidence in that workforce.
Very cool.
So similar to SensorTrack's platform, our wearable communicates data via Bluetooth to Bluetooth gateways. This gets sent to the cloud where it can then be accessed via dashboards and then be accessed via managers, supervisors, or anyone else that's looking to access the data.
Great. So thanks for that. It's really a great, interesting platform. There's a lot of, we'll walk through a little bit of what SensorTracks does, but we focus mostly when we're talking about automated data collection, well, exclusively when we're talking about automated data collection on monitoring machines and equipment. And if you have manual operations, which pretty much every manufacturing company does have some kind of manual process, we have no visibility into that unless somebody types it into the computer. And as a lot of people know, that can be a pretty big challenge. So to walk through a little bit of SensorTracks and what SensorTracks helps companies do, and then we'll talk about the integration between the two systems. We really help people do 4 core things. One is stopping problems as they happen. So understanding what's happening now out in your factory, and being able to know about it so you can do something about it now versus waiting until tomorrow, maybe when the manual reports come out that are emailed to everybody on yesterday's productivity. So a very good example of how this can help is I've been on many, many plant tours with plant managers, CEOs, operations executives. We've walked by a very critical part of the manufacturing process and it's not running and nobody knows why. And maybe there aren't even any workers or operators there. You can set alerts to tell you that, hey, that line, that area has been down for an hour, 2 hours, and they can escalate to really get visibility into what's happening there. And that's what we see in that animation on the right side of the screen. And very similar to what Iterate Labs is doing, we also have scoreboards where you can see how each individual line and how each individual machine is currently running so that you can get a good visual understanding of how the plant is performing as you're walking around. So these are good for, like Jason said, cafeterias where the employees walk into the plant or even hanging over different lines and departments out in the plant. One of the other ones is what we call win the day. And what this really is the ability to pull a schedule from somewhere. So it can be an ERP system, it can be an Excel sheet, or it can even be a tack time. Like, for example, we need to produce 100 of a certain product every single day, and then be able to track against that in near real time. So as things are being completed, you can know how far ahead or behind you are, if you're going to deliver on schedule or not, and really look at planned versus actual. And so what we see here is an operator screen where the workers actually know how they're doing, and they know when they leave every day, did I have a good day or did I have a bad day, right? Because they can tell based on the metrics that matter for that company how they did. Very, very similar and complementary to what Jason talked about. And then the very last thing is eliminating manual reporting. The second to last thing, I should say, eliminating manual reporting. So the ability to get rid of as much Excel and paper as you can. And the Iterate Labs partnership fits in well with this because we're removing yet another manual operation potentially of entering counts and scrap and downtime of manual work inside of sensor tracks. And the fourth thing is visibility and accountability. So having the dashboards and the analytics to really understand, hey, if I didn't hit my numbers yesterday, why not? So did I have excess downtime? Was I short-staffed? Was some downstream process causing issues? And then being able to look at that over the longer term as well. And the vision here between our two systems is to combine some of this data because as you saw with Iterate Labs, it's not just about cycle time, it's also about safety and quality of work, which are things that we don't have and we can't measure, but provide a lot of value when you combine the two systems. So this is how it works. We'll start first with the Iterate Labs integration. So the smartwatches from Iterate Labs in their gateways would push data directly to sensor tracks so that when somebody finishes a manual process, whatever it might be, that cycle is going to go up to sensor tracks and signal that a part was made. Very similar to what's happening with the other way that we gather data throughout the factory. There's three other ways that we can gather data as well by using wireless sensors. You can almost think about the smartwatch as a wireless sensor. It's a lot smarter than these sensors, but having the ability to put sensors on old machines, gather data from existing sensors on older machines, and push those over a wireless network. We also could connect to PLCs and controllers inside of the machines to be able to pull that data directly out. And then finally, manual data collection for things that we just can't gather from machines or from the smartwatches or from sensors. Typically, in this case, it's going to be things like, if a worker is stopping work or the line goes down, telling us why, or doing changeovers. So if we're switching from one product to another, and if we can't get that data directly out of one of the machines or another system out on the floor. So Jason, I'll let you talk a little bit about the benefits from your point of view, and then I can share those as well.
Yeah, no, I think these capture it fairly accurately, but just kind of overall, we believe the workforce is a key element for success in manufacturing and industrial sector. And by all means, they are the most important resource. And so really having visibility and connection to that workforce in near real time and continuously is incredibly valuable. And having visibility in how to interact with them and address changes in real time is also incredibly important. So by working together, we're not only covering the machines and processes, we're also covering the people. And I think it's really just a great opportunity working together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. Every manufacturer out there has manual processes, right? And they want visibility into those things. And the safety side of it is really important as well because of a lot of reasons, repetitive stress and fatigue and injuries and things like that. And so the productivity is almost like an added benefit to be able to gather that information. Some of the other, we have some questions coming through the chat that I think we ought to answer. How does, from an implementation perspective on your side, Jason, what does that process look like? And how long does it take to get results?
Yeah, for us, it's fairly straightforward. So can be up and running in a very short period of time. Honestly, a matter of 10 to 15 minutes once kind of like the connectivity gateways are up and running. The wearable automatically connects via Bluetooth to the gateway. That's sending data to the gateway, then to the cloud. And then within, near 15 minutes, you start getting your first insights and feedback from the platform. So really up and running pretty quickly from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's similar to us. Like once we start receiving that data, you can start getting the productivity metrics integrated with the rest of the plans.
The more data we collect, the stronger their AI gets, the more insights we can collect as well. But you can start getting really valid insights and information kind of right off the bat.
Yeah. So the other one, and I guess this is kind of the big question, is, how do workers feel about this? Like, does it feel like someone's looking over their shoulder all the time because they have a watch on, or what? How has that been received?
Yeah, so we get that question a lot, but honestly, we've only had really enthusiastic and positive responses from the workforce. The ability to one have kind of new technology like a smartwatch involved in their kind of daily operations has been really exciting, but it also knows that they're being really cared for. So from the safety perspective, knowing that the company is taking care to monitor their motions and processes to see that they're doing okay and there's no signs of potential injury. It also helps to foster kind of engagement between the managers and key team members as well. And I think that's one of the key things why turnover has had a big impact as well. So overall, it's been really well received, and using the wearable, the smartwatch is incredibly easy. It's comfortable, it's lightweight, and really have not had any complaints from that front.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, sensor tracks can sometimes be viewed as big brother and management wanting to watch everybody also, but the companies that have the most success is it's an empowerment tool. So giving everybody the visibility into what's happening so that they can improve the processes. So whether that's from a safety perspective, a productivity perspective, quality perspective, once you have the data, you can do those things.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree.
Somebody told me once that you could use our software as like a knucklehead detector, and that if you did that, then you're not going to be successful because people are going to push back against it. And
Yeah, that's the other big point I want to make is that the labor workforce is the biggest resource. For a company to have to find someone new and hire and train, the cost of that is far more than engaging with an employee, helping to train them better, helping to understand kind of where they're coming from. And so that the big brother aspect is the question comes up, but in reality, it's just not a factor.
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Um, all right, good. So the other thing that we did was we put together a starter kit for R2 solutions, where you get a certain number of watches, the gateway, and then licenses for a line from sensor tracks. So you can get that full visibility. So machinery and workers running on a line, and really see how the two systems can work together. Both of our companies can represent and help you with these solutions. So you can either reach out to sales at Sensor Tracks or sales at Iterate Labs to have those discussions and check out that starter kit.
Yeah, it's a great way to really understand, a target processing line or production line, and get that full visibility from the get-go.
Yeah. And I think we have similar methodologies on implementations. Like, most of our customers start small. They'll try it out on a handful of machines or a couple lines, really understand how it's going to work for them, and then expand throughout the plant. Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, very similar. Kind of test it out in one area first, understand the value and how to operate with it, and then from there expand and kind of grow from there. So very similar.
Cool. Yeah, good. Anything else you want to add?
No, just thanks for the opportunity to be on this webinar, and really excited for the work we can do together and help the customers out.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. We're very excited about this partnership, and think it's going to show some great things. So thanks for joining me today, and talk to you later.
Thanks.